Hey, thanks for dropping in. So, on most nights, I cook for my wife and daughter. Not that I don't enjoy the food either, but I definitely cater more to their preferences. That's not the case this time, because tomorrow's dinner, and yes, I'm preparing a day in advance, is pan-seared chicken, over which I'll pour a brown butter and sage sauce. Tia and Nova have no problem with the chicken or the brown butter, but they do not like sage. Oh well. Now I want to dry brine the chicken breasts overnight, but before I can do that, I need to even out their thickness. The chicken breasts are kind of shaped like a teardrop, with a fat end tapering down to a much narrower opposite end. That makes cooking them evenly, as they are, pretty much impossible. So I've sandwiched the breast between a couple of sheets of plastic wrap, and I'm flattening it with a heavy pot, paying more attention to the fat end, of course. Okay, that should do it. This can move to a tray, and I'll do two more. So here are my chicken breasts, and they're now more or less even. As I said, I want to dry brine these, and that simply means I'm going to hit them with a liberal sprinkle of salt, then put them in the fridge overnight. What's going to happen is the salt will draw moisture out of the meat. That moisture will mix with the salt, then it'll be reabsorbed back into the chicken. So the bird's basically seasoning itself on the inside. Also, because the exterior ends up drier, it'll encourage browning. This is a super simple technique that I try to follow anytime I'm pan-searing or roasting meat. These are ready to go. I've got a nice spot ready in the fridge, far from everything so there's no risk of contamination. I'll flip them over in the morning so I can salt the other side, but for now, good night. And I'm back to finish the prep. And honestly, there's not much to it. Aside from the sage and butter, I want a crispy element in this dish, so these shallots will do just fine. I just need to chop them into strips. As for the remaining ingredients, I've got sage and a lemon. Seriously, this might be the simplest recipe I've posted yet. Oh yeah, I can't forget about the butter. Ideally, you'd want unsalted butter for this, so you can add salt as needed. I didn't have unsalted butter though, so this salted will have to do. I just need to be careful with seasoning. The last step before we get to cooking is to dredge the chicken. I don't want a thick batter because I'm not looking to make fried chicken or schnitzel. Instead, I'll be using a combination of cornstarch and rice flour, seasoned with just a bit of black pepper, which will give a nice thin coating that's also really crispy. I'll drop the chicken in and roll them around a bit so they get an even coat. Now, you may be thinking that I forgot to add salt to my dredge. But remember that these chicken breasts are already salted from the dry brining. Plus, I've got salt in the butter. I'm pretty comfortable skipping any extra salt at this point. Okay, I'll just shake off the excess dredge from this last piece, and we're ready to cook. So I've got a bit of veg oil heating up in my pan. I'll drop in one of my chicken breasts and let it do its thing for about 4 minutes. I want to get it nice and golden on that first side. For that same reason, I'm frying the chicken one breast at a time, so I don't crowd the pan and cause it to steam. This first breast is ready to flip. It's a little hard to tell from this angle, but there's a really light, almost wafer-like coating on the chicken. To brown it further, and also to get the sides, which weren't really kissed by the pan, I'll baste the hot oil over it. This should take about 4 to 5 minutes to finish cooking. This breast should be good to go, but just to be sure, I'm going to check the internal temp with my instant read thermometer. I'm looking for 140 to 145 degrees Fahrenheit. So this can come out. I'll go ahead and finish the other two and catch you again when it's time for the sauce. The chicken's cooked and resting on a plate, and I've cleaned out my pan. To make the sauce, there's really only one step, and that's to add the butter, shallot, and sage to the pan. After that, it's just a matter of waiting for the butter to brown and the shallots to crisp. The sage flavor will infuse into the melted butter, giving it flavor without being overwhelming, which is good because otherwise my wife and daughter will refuse to eat it. And I've left the leaves whole so I can pull them out. Those are being saved for Daddy's plate. The butter sauce is done and I've killed the heat. Brown butter and crispy shallots can turn into burned butter and burned shallots pretty darn quick, so timing is key. The sage can come out too, and this is going straight to the table. Okay, so here's my chicken, and I'm going to top it with the crispy shallots and brown butter. As you can see, my timing was a little off, and the shallots turned a little darker than I would have liked. That's okay, they're still going to be great. Overall, I'm really happy with this plate. The chicken's nice and evenly cooked, not dry at all, and because of the dry brining, it's totally delicious on the inside. The brown butter is rich with a nice background of sage that's not too much. If I was to make one adjustment, next time I'll put the chicken on top of the sauce instead of pouring it over, so the chicken stays crispy. But otherwise, all this needs is a little squeeze of lemon to finish, and this dish is served. Thanks for watching. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons if you enjoyed this video and want to continue supporting this channel. And if you have any comments or suggestions, please drop them below. I'll see you next week.